Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and we just got our next wave of games for you Xbox Game Pass subscribers out there. I know you all are consistently spoiled, and that Xbox showcase, I felt really just kind of put that on full display. Just so many great looking games are coming to Xbox Game Pass in the future, but for right now, we got 7 new games to talk about that you can play within the next 2 weeks. Now, we also got an update for the PlayStation Portal as well, so stay tuned for that. And even though we've gone through most of the big showcases for the month of June, there's actually one more to look forward to, and we now have at least one game that we should expect to be there. So let's get right into the news, and we'll go and start off with Xbox Game Pass. They just announced their next wave of games, which includes SteamWorld Dig 1 and SteamWorld Dig 2, EA Sports FC 24, The Time Sandrock, Robin Hood Sherwood Builders, Kepler, and then lastly, the game that just launched, Still Wakes the Deep. That's their big new day one release, and this is one that I do want to highlight. This is a first-person narrative horror game where you play as an oil rig worker who is stranded and is fighting for his life in a vicious storm in the freezing North Sea. It's got a really unique and spooky setting, and for that reason alone, it's something that's really grabbed my attention. Now, the reviews have been rolling out these past 24 hours, though, and it seems like critics either really love this game, whereas others maybe not so much. Now, just to kind of put that into perspective, the Xbox Metacritic score sits at an 84, which is absolutely excellent, but on the contrary, the PC version has a 76. Now, a 76 is still solid, but I think you can kind of see here that the reviews are a little bit mixed depending on the critic. But if you do like creepy, story-driven horror games with a strong atmosphere, it really seems like this is one that you might want to check out. In fact, I do want to go and point out that the user reviews on Steam are actually 89% positive. So that's always a really good sign that if you're a part of the target audience, if you like horror games in this case, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that you'll enjoy it. And plus, I mean, this is the beauty of having something like Xbox Game Pass. There's really no risk to try it out yourself, and I mean, who knows? You might come away pleasantly surprised, or in this case, incredibly scared. So if you like horror games, go check it out. It is available right now. Now, as for these other games, though, SteamWorld Dig 1 and 2 are probably your big standouts. These 2 games are so often listed among the best Metroidvania games ever made, and I'd say for a good reason. They're actually really unique games for the genre where you go on these mining-like adventures. There's a lot to discover in these games, and they're just a lot of fun to play. What I'll kind of say here is that if you haven't already played them, and if you like the Metroidvania genre, or even if you haven't, I still think that these games are definitely worth a try. Both will be available on June 26. Now, one other game here, though, that might be worth a try is Robin Hood Sherwood Builders. Now, I have not played this game myself, but I've heard some positive things about it. Its full release was just earlier this year, and more or less, it's an action RPG where you play as the iconic Robin Hood in a survival-like adventure. Apparently, you can complete quests, construct various builds, craft a broad range of items, and freely explore locations inspired by both myth and history in an open-world RPG world with base building features. It looks like it could potentially be fun, so maybe go ahead and give it a try come June 27th when it'll be available to Game Pass on both console and on PC. So, I mean, this isn't necessarily their best lineup in the world on paper, but at the end of the day, I still think that there's some games worth checking out at the very least. Maybe something will catch your attention, and who knows, maybe something will surprise you. That is always one of my favorite things about Game Pass, because there's a lot of games that I've played that I wouldn't have otherwise, and then I've turned out to really, really like them. So maybe this is going to be one of those waves. Okay, so let's go and talk about that other showcase that's quietly in just a few days. Yeah, the Gamers Holiday isn't quite over just yet because Limited Run Games has their own showcase set for June 20th. Now, I'm not necessarily expecting massive announcements to be at this event, but there could still be some really cool surprises, including the official reveal for Beyond Good and Evil, the 20th Anniversary Edition. Now, if you've been listening to my videos or if you've been reading my tweets, you all have probably heard me complain about this. To me, it was mind-blowing and a little frustrating at the same time that Ubisoft didn't highlight this game at their own event, and to be fair, I still think that that's a mistake because I don't think this limited run event will have quite the same viewership as Ubisoft Forward. But even still, they did confirm that it will get its reveal at the limited run showcase. This also, of course, means that it will get a physical release, which I'd say that's great news for any of you collectors out there. At the same time, though, Beyond Good and Evil HD has been delisted on various storefronts ahead of this announcement, including on Steam, Xbox, and potentially the Ubisoft store as well. Now, it does appear that it is still on GOG for $10 if you want to buy it that way, but the 20th Anniversary Edition looks to be completely replacing that HD version for the long run. Now, let's just kind of hope that it's a big enough improvement to justify its replacement, and not just with its visuals, but also with its controls and just different quality of life enhancements. I hope Ubisoft treated this 20th Anniversary Edition the right way. I mean, who knows about Ubisoft? It's definitely not a company that I necessarily trust, but I mean, I guess we'll see here soon enough. Either which way, I do think it's great news that we are getting this 20th Anniversary Edition, just because it shows that Ubisoft, at the very least, hasn't completely forgotten about this franchise. It does seem to be somewhat still important to them, and who knows, we might actually get that sequel by maybe 2030, if we're lucky. Okay, now I do want to talk about one last thing here, though, before I go, being the PlayStation Portal. For as much criticism as Sony has received for this remote play device, it's actually proven to be a big hit for them. A few months back, they mentioned that the demand has exceeded their expectations, and we've really seen that for ourselves. The PlayStation Portal still sells out frequently, and yeah, I mean, okay, I'm sure a part of that is just because it is a low-volume device. They're not making a ton of units, but at the same time, clearly, there is a market for a device like this, and because of that, Sony has given it a decent amount of support. They've already pushed out a few different firmware updates, and now I'm happy to say that it's getting another firmware update today. This includes a new sign-in screen for select public Wi-Fi networks, which is actually a game changer for certain people. If you like to take your Portal outside of your house, this is a great option to have, and I know a lot of people were specifically asking for this feature. That's probably one of the more requested features alongside cloud support, which hopefully we'll get that later down the line. So I will say that this is a very welcome addition. It'll also get new visual feedback for the touchpad areas. Let's go and say that if you swipe on the touchpads, that'll now show up on screen with a cool little effect. Then lastly here, the Portal will now show a battery level percentage, which that might be a small inclusion, but hey, you'll now be able to see just exactly how long you'll have left before your device's battery dies. So, overall, I'd say that this is a pretty cool firmware update, but I'm actually hoping there's a little bit more to this that they're not stating. I've said this before, and I'll go and say it again here. The biggest problem that I have with the PlayStation Portal right now is its microstutters. This is something that a lot of people have had a problem with, and basically what this is that its refresh rate doesn't exactly match up with the PlayStation 5, and that makes it feel like there's frame pacing issues. It just doesn't feel smooth, which is a really bad look for it because this is not an issue on third-party devices. As of right now, unless this firmware update changes something, I actually get smoother experience by playing on the Steam Deck with Chiaki. And that's really too bad because I prefer the Portal for PlayStation Remote Play for other reasons. The Portal has a bigger screen, it's incredibly easy to connect to the PS5, and it has the DualSense controller, making it feel more like a PlayStation 5 device. So I'm hoping that this update will fix this problem, but I mean, I guess we'll see. If anything else, the good news here is that Sony is still supporting the PlayStation Portal, and that's a good sign that they might eventually fix this issue if this update doesn't. If you use the PlayStation Portal, though, and if you've noticed those micro stutters, let me know if this update helps that problem even in the slightest. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but as always, do hit that subscribe button, and until next time, peace out.